Hello everyone, welcome to today's class, and today's title is Lawless Libraries. Let's move on to language focus. 1번. After a few months, we both found girlfriends elsewhere and lost all interest in the library. That's a funny little sentence. Okay, so as you can see, I have highlighted elsewhere. So we use elsewhere to refer to an unspecified location, other location, or destination. So elsewhere, 명시되지 않는 어딘가 다른 곳에. So, as an example, my favorite restaurant was closed, so we had to have lunch elsewhere. 제가 가장 좋아하는 식당이 문을 닫아서 다른 곳에서 점심을 먹어야 했습니다. Very simple, I think, in my opinion. Volodya, there's that name again. This person must know a person named Volodya. Volodya couldn't get a visa to Turkmenistan, so he went elsewhere. So finally I figured out that Volodya is a male name. I did not know that. Volodya는 터크메니스탄 방문 비자를 받을 수 없어서 다른 나라로 떠났습니다. So elsewhere, very basic. We had to, as you can see, it seems to be quite often at the end of sentences. However, yes, you can see up here that it's also in the middle of a sentence as well. Right, moving on to 2번 now. They are welcome at public libraries, and rightly so. And rightly so is what we're going to look at next. So we use and rightly so to express approval of an action or situation. So use rightly so. And rightly so, 어떤 행동이나 상황을 찬성할 때 쓰는 편입니다. 당연한 일이다. Alright, so dog meat is illegal, and rightly so. 개고기 식용은 불법이며 당연히 한 일입니다. Of course. And it should be. Or the bartender stopped serving Olivia drinks, and rightly so. 바텐더는 올리비아에게 술을 더 이상 제공하지 않았고 당연한 일이었습니다. Because Olivia might have been extremely drunk, so the bartender did the correct thing by stopping giving her drinks. Okay. Now, let's look at the language focus quiz. 1번. Didn't have what I wanted, so I looked elsewhere for it. Looked for it elsewhere, sorry. Sorry, sometimes I read too fast and I mess up the sentence structure. Okay. Simple. Costco didn't have what I want, so I looked elsewhere for it. 제가 원하는 것이 코스트코에 없어서 다른 곳에서 찾았습니다. 2번. You can't in so if that's important to you, you should go elsewhere. Let's say you can't find fresh fish in the deep countryside, not like near the water. So if that's important to you, you should go somewhere elsewhere. 시골에서는 신선한 생선을 찾을 수 없으므로 생선을 중요하게 생각한다면 다른 곳으로 가보세요. You know, countryside meaning like let's say the middle of Seoul, or not middle of Seoul, the middle of the countryside in South Korea, not like the coastal areas. And rightly so. So use rightly so to express approval in action situations. Remember when we use rightly so? 어떤 행동이나 상황을 찬성할 때 쓴 표현입니다. So blah 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 won an award, and rightly so. Let's just say Justin won an award, and rightly so. Justin은 상을 받았습니다. 당연한 일이었죠. got in trouble, and rightly so. Say, the whole gang got in trouble, and rightly so. 갱단 전체가 곤란한 상황에 처했고 당연히 그럴만 했습니다. So the whole gang. Alright, now let's look at the further discussion. 1번. Where are some places homeless people gather in your city? Why do they choose those places? 도시에서 노숙자들이 주로 모이는 곳은 어디인가요? 왜 그들은 그런 장소를 선택하나요? There are actually many different places. It also actually depends on the season as well. Not that I have been there for a long time, but I remember when I first came to Korea, near Gwanghamun, I think it might either be Gwanghamun Station or Jongno Samga Station or Jongno Station, that area. There was a lot of homeless people staying in that area. Usually in the hallways during winter, obviously. I have seen a lot of homeless people in South Korea live under bridges, which is actually not uncommon for the rest of the world's homeless population to live under bridges. People usually live under there because it's protection from the sun, protection from the weather, basically. It's cool. Not many people really travel past under the bridge, so they're left alone. Usually, some people are scared of homeless people. Most of the time, they are harmless. It still doesn't mean you should go up to them and talk to them, because, they are just trying to, stay away from the rest of the world in some cases, and in some cases, they sadly have nowhere to go to. However, I think under the bridge is probably the most common areas, and for that reason I've mentioned earlier. 2번. How can places such as libraries prevent people from abusing their facilities and becoming territorial about public spaces? 도서관은 같은 공공장소에서 사람들이 시설을 남용하고 텃세 부리는 걸 어떻게 방지할 수 있을까요? It's kind of like when people go to cafes to study, isn't it? How can we stop abusing the people who are using the cafes just for study rather than going there and drinking coffee, etc.? Which, guilty, I do sometimes as well. Of course, there should be some sort of security there as well to move people along if they're not doing the right things. Police would also help. With the library, I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. Like I said, I haven't stepped foot in the library for ages. But as an example, when people in cafe owners, example, especially independent cafe owners, if they don't want someone to stay for too long, they'll simply have a sign saying, you must buy a beverage every 2 hours or something every 2 hours or something like that. They will also take away the PowerPoints from the cafe, so no one can plug their laptop in or no one can plug their phone in, because in places like Starbucks or other franchise cafes, they have the ability to have a study area for you to be in, and the other, let's say, independent cafes, they don't have that option. So therefore, they have to take away the plug so people don't stay there too long, and that they have constant flow of customers coming in and out, which I completely understand. So that's why whenever I go to a cafe to study or cafe to work, it always is a Starbucks or it always is a Coffee Bean or something like that. Coffee Bean is not great for people who want to study or work, because they have limited PowerPoints. Constant is what I'm saying. It's the way I say PowerPoint. In Australia, we call them PowerPoints, where you plug something in. But yes, those are the ways that people can maybe prevent people from coming into cafes as opposed to libraries. I really can't tell you. I wouldn't know. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's class, and I'll see you on the next class.
Wholesome. wholesome,
On one's best behavior.
on one's best behavior,
Pass out.
pass out,
Territorial.
territorial,
Controversial.
controversial,
Nuisance.
nuisance.